Hi guys and welcome to my review of chapter 846 of One Piece Egg Defense. And I've got a lot of notes, so this might be a long one, but I mean, you probably know that before I even started this, but I'm gonna try to keep it around 20 minutes as I usually do, but let's see what happens. So let's just I'm gonna basically split this review up in 3 parts, so it's gonna be pretty chronological because I'm still gonna start with Luffy and Nami. And what I found most interesting about Luffy and Nami, their side of story is not as much, it's not them, but it was just Big Mom's family members, because we got a lot of their powers. So if we just go through them. What I didn't catch up on in my live reaction was that Galette, the demon girl, she uses some kind of her powers on Nami to keep her bound like this, and I'm sure it's not water, but I'm guessing that it's either a specific binding technique or some sort of liquid power. It could be rain, who knows, but I don't really want it to be water, because as much as I know that there are a lot of theories about a potential water like devil fruit, I am very much against that, because I feel like that'd be a bit too overpowered in the world of One Piece, but that's just my opinion. And if someone should have that power, I don't think it should go to a subordinate of Big Mom, who's not even one of the 3 commanders. So I'm gonna say it's not water, but it could be liquid based. But it's important to note that Galette is very, I don't even know if I'm saying her name right, but you know what I mean, right? She's very impressed with Nami's strength. And Nami basically confirms that she has the ability to control Zeus and Prometheus, because she says that even though she doesn't have the power to create really big thunderstorms, she can control the ones that Big Mom create, and she creates them with Zeus and Prometheus, right? So that's really interesting, because that gives Nami a lot of power, since one of the things that Pound really not cherished Big Mom for, but she's very strong, said that about her. He was like, well, she has the power to control and manipulate the weather, but now Nami can take that power away from her, because she can then over-control and over-manipulate, if that makes any sense. Not Pound though, something I just realized, he's still not there. A lot of people have been pointing out that he kind of just disappeared. Because did he just stay in the forest? What did he do? Why is he not there? I have not thought about this, so I'm not gonna go into this. But we have, Galette, as I said, she has this kind of weird power. Then we have Amande. I am sorry if I pronounce these names wrong, but I have no clue, so. Basically she punishes Baum for being unobedient and being disloyal, because that's what they think at this point. Even though he's like, no, we're still loyal, it's not our fault. But Amande is really cool. People have been speculating for a while that a lot of Big Mom's children, especially the daughters, seem to be particularly insane. And Amande is kind of okay, so I'm just gonna slice you up real slow so that you can feel the most pain, because there's no point in killing you if I don't enjoy watching your pain and stuff like that. So that's really interesting. I think it's really cool. It's rare to see female swordsmen. We have Tashigi, and on top of my head, that's the only female swordsman I can remember or come up with. There must be 1 or 2 more people. Monet was kind of I don't know. That aside though, I really like her because I feel even if we only get a few panels with each of these characters, they are very different, yet you can still see how they have similar traits. So I think that's really interesting, and I just think that Oda has done a really good job of being very distinct with both his character designs and character personalities, if that makes any sense. Then we have Mondor, who has some kind of book power. He flies some books, he puts Luffy and Nami at some point, I guess, into this book world, which I immediately thought was a bit like Brulee's power of putting people inside mirrors. Of course, there are some significant differences, I assume, since all the mirrors are connected. I'm guessing all the books are not connected, unless he wants them to be. I'm not completely sure about this power, and I'm sure Oda has a lot in store for us, because I do feel when we're seeing all these powers, they will have a role in the future. But I think that's a really interesting power, having the control of books and putting people inside of books. Because imagine putting a person inside the world of Alice in Wonderland, which is basically what Mondor does in this chapter. That must be so weird and creepy, especially because, again, more things. But I think it's really smart what he does. Like, he puts Luffy inside of this world, and then he spits him out, and then we have these two guys attacking him from either side and almost knocking him out. But yeah, I'm gonna get to Luffy later. Then we have Opera, who has cream powers, and he can apparently set this cream on fire. And there's he has this comment of, if you stay too close to this, the sweeter my cream is, the more I'll burn you to a crisp or whatever. These people have insane powers, like they're so different, and I find it interesting that they're really good at working together, because usually when you have all these people who have really, really strong powers, they will often try to go for these characters alone, like they won't work together. But I feel like with Big Mom, because they're a family, and because they are like this enraged army, they're really good at working together. None of them are like, no, he's my prey, and I want to do this by myself, I want to be the one to knock him out. Like, they really work together, and I feel like that's amazing, because it's harder for Luffy and Nami alone to overcome when a lot of strong people work together against them, especially because, as it is right now, Luffy has 0 energy. Like, yeah, I'm just gonna talk about Luffy now. But like throughout the fight, if you just look at his expression, most of the times he just looks really tired. There's like this one panel, I don't really remember what page or in what context it was, but I just remember looking at the panel and you can see Luffy, and you can just see his eyes, and he just looks so tired, which makes sense because he has fought Cracker for 11 hours, then got his ass handed to him by Sanji, and he has not eaten anything since then. Like, he has had crackers, but that's it. And that's not really nutritious, so of course Luffy would be tired. And like, even though I have my doubts on whether or not Luffy would be able to win this fight, even if he was like fully charged, he probably could. I feel like a lot of people are gonna argue for the fact that he could, but I'm just gonna put it as a question mark for now. But even then, I feel like he'd have a hard time fighting all these people, because as I said, they were working together, and now that he's just low on energy, there's no way for him to win. And I'm very, very happy, as I said in my live reaction, that no one came to help them, because I really wanted them to like have a loss. And I feel like if they were just gonna be saved, it wouldn't be as much of a lesson, because up until now, like, except for Doflamingo really, but up until now, most of the people they've fought, they haven't really been threats. Especially for like people like Zoro. Like, we're all kind of disappointed in the fact that Zoro hasn't had a real opponent, and I think I'm one of the only ones who think this, but I really hated his fight against Pika, because I thought it was just boring as shit. But that's just my opinion. I feel like a lot of people like that fight. But that's a different topic. But either way, I feel like it's nice for them to see so much resistance, especially because we are in Yonko territory, and if they can't put up a fight, then who the hell can? But I just really like it, because even with Doflamingo, like, Luffy fought him when he was tired, and of course Law had done a lot of things to Doflamingo, so they were both tired, which means that it was probably like, it didn't matter. But even then, Luffy had a lot of help. Like, if the people of Dressrosa hadn't helped him in the time after he'd used Gear Force for the first time, he wouldn't have been able to beat Doflamingo, because he'd just been like... But yeah, I just really think that it's nice for them to lose, because it just means that there's still a lot of room for Luffy to grow and become stronger, because he needs to be stronger if he wants to be Kaido, which I do believe that he will. But there has to be like some sort of extra motivational factor in how he becomes stronger, because just being strong enough from the time skip and what they trained for in those 2 years, I don't feel like it's gonna cut it, because that's not something we saw, that's not character development we get to see. And as I've said multiple times now, I do want to see a return of Luffy being really smart in a fight. He's shown he's unexceptionally perceptive, in this arc with Sanji, and just how he's been able to very calmly put things together and stuff like that. But I want to see him be like cunning in a fight, like we saw against Anil and on Creek and Crocodile, and probably other fights that I'm forgetting right now. What am I forgetting? Oh yeah, Nami. So after they basically beat Nami and Luffy, which wasn't really that hard because they were a lot of people and they were very tired, they take Lola's Viva card, or the Viva card that Lola gave to Nami. And they have a very good reaction, I feel like, because they're like, wait, did you kill Lola to get this? And Nami's like, no, we're her friends. And I found their reaction really interesting, because they call her a runaway, which should be negative, but then again they seem also really outraged by the fact that they think that Nami and Luffy have killed her. So I really do wonder on what terms Lola left Whole Cake Island, because she did get the Vivre card, which means that she couldn't have left on bad terms, as well as she gave the Vivre card to Nami, which again, like, why would she say that, oh, Mama will help her if she ended things on bad terms? But then again, it's like when Pudding, who of course we can't really trust, she did say that Lola ran away and sought freedom and love and all that. And there's been some mixed signals as to what circumstances Lola left under. So yeah, I'm really interested by that, because I also want to know, even if she left Big Mom and they parted on good terms, like, what did the other siblings say? Like, was she a traitor in their eyes? Did she just abandon them? Like, what was the circumstances? I'm really interested in that. And then just lastly, we have Luffy basically trying to stay at the spot where he has promised Sanji that he would stay and wait for him, and he gets knocked out, I presume, and is carried away, which I find super interesting, because Luffy promised Sanji that he would stay here, obviously, and I feel like for Luffy, it will feel like, even if it's not his fault at all, it will feel like for him that he let Sanji down and he broke his promise, and I'm really interested in seeing what that will do to Luffy's mentality. And while I don't really expect him to break down and have a mental breakdown, because we've seen that once and I don't think we'll see it again, because he had that mental breakdown when Ace died, but I still feel like it's gonna weigh heavy on his mentality, that he will feel like he let Sanji down because he moved from the spot where he promised that he would be. So yeah, I'm really interested in see what Luffy will do about the situation, and if he's just gonna shrug it off, or if he's just gonna take it to heart. Lastly, I just want to mention that Bobbin did nothing. Either I missed it completely, because I feel like the only panel I saw him in was when they were all reacting to the fact that Nami had Lola's Vivre card. So, why is he not doing anything? Yeah. Bobbin is being, hyped up for something. He's always there, but he does nothing. Okay, so I'm just gonna go into the next part now. I'm gonna talk about Sanji, because on the surface, if we just take it as we see it, Sanji makes a deal with Big Mom that if he marries Pudding and doesn't cause a fuss and just goes along with everything, Big Mom will let the Straw Hats leave the island alive. Exactly what Robin did with the CP9, letting them leave Water 7. So I have two things I want to discuss in this scene. Let's start with Sanji, because I did make a very long video of why I think that Sanji might be playing some sort of master game where he's literally lying to everyone and secretly trying to get out of this. And I do feel like, of course I could be very, very wrong, but I do feel like this scene here could speak to my benefit, because ellipses are a thing, and I feel like, again, the expressions that Sanji makes are very odd. He seems genuinely happy, yet at the same time he seems like, I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like this is something you will see if you're on board with the theory that Sanji is doing something. But I find it really interesting that the 2 times where we see, or 3 times, but 2 of the times where we see his ellipses is before he says, I promise to make Pudding the happiest girl in the world, because it feels like he's hesitating saying that because that's an outright lie. And he also says it, or he has ellipses when he agrees with Big Mom, where she's like, oh yeah, it'll be a wedding tomorrow and it'll be really great and you'll be happy and the German and I will be allied, and Sanji's just like, yeah, sure. I find that really interesting. I'm not gonna talk too much about it because I literally have 2 videos mainly just talking about Sanji and stuff like that, so if you want to discuss further, leave a comment below. Second thing I want to talk about is the fact that when Big Mom agrees to this, she does say that, well, you need to remember all of these things that Straw Hat has done to me, and under normal circumstances, he would not get easily away with this because he's literally done so many things against me. And what I find interesting is that this is the point where they make a deal, and as it is set up, it looks like this takes place after Luffy and Nami have been defeated. And what is interesting is that the enraged army from the get-go already had orders to take Luffy and Nami alive. So already from there, it was confirmed that Big Mom wasn't interested in killing them, at least not now. So whether or not she planned to kill them later on, or whatever she has planned, I mean, I just feel like that's really interesting that she from the get-go wasn't even gonna kill them, but now she's just made this deal with Sanji. So how much is this deal gonna change what she's gonna do to Luffy? Because she could just have been like, capture him and I'm gonna kill him myself, but I don't really think that. I do really like the theory that she is just testing Luffy and that she, like, deep down doesn't really want to kill him, but is just extremely interested in him. I think that's all I'm gonna say about this, because I feel like it's quite straightforward. One last fun thing that I want to mention is that her hat makes the exact same expressions that she does, so when she's like happy and angry and stuff like that, I find that really funny that the hat mimics her expressions, but that's just a fun little thing. Next we go into the Room of Offerings, where we have Tamago talking to a lot of people, presumably, and mostly Lady Smoothie, who I'm gonna get into later. And he starts talking about the poneglyphs, and we find out that there are approximately 30 poneglyphs, and that 9 of them are the ones that tell of the story of the Void Century, so the Rio poneglyphs. We have 4 rope poneglyphs, which we of course already knew, and if we then assume that there are 30 poneglyphs, that means that there are 17 other poneglyphs that either, I presume, are the ones that lead to other poneglyphs, because Robin did say that there are 2 types of poneglyphs, the ones that lead to other poneglyphs and then the ones that contain information. So the 17 must be poneglyphs that lead to other poneglyphs and poneglyphs that tell of the ancient weapons, because I don't... we know from Alabasta that poneglyph told the story of Pluton, the location or whatever, and Robin also said in that chapter, or in that like instance, that this was not the poneglyph that she was looking for, which means that the Rio poneglyphs and the ones that talk about the ancient weapons are in fact different poneglyphs. So I am guessing that these 17 other poneglyphs are leading or weapon related. Which is interesting because at this point I don't think we know exactly how many poneglyphs Robin has gotten her hands on, but we know she has at the very least read 4, the one in O'Hara, the one in Alabasta, the one in Skypiea, and the one in Fishman Island. 5, and the one in the Soa, of course, so that's 5 out of the 30. I'm guessing that she must have, in her 30 years of journeying around, there must have been more. So she has between, I would guess, 5 and 10, and with these 3 that they are certainly gonna get their hands on, they will have 3 more. 1 rope poneglyph and 2 that I presume are at least 1 Rio poneglyph and then maybe 1 other. But what I find interesting about their conversation, or just like Tamago's monologue here, is that he talks as if they have someone who can read these poneglyphs. Because they are, of course, all like after the rope poneglyphs and stuff like that, but literally the only person we know of who should be able to read these are Robin, and Robin is nowhere near them. And they have not made an attempt to get to Robin either, so I just find it interesting that they are talking as if getting the poneglyphs will be enough, because of course it wouldn't be if you can't read them. Like, if you can't get the information that is written on the poneglyphs, how would they help you in any way, shape, or form? But they talk as if they have someone, and I find this really interesting because I do believe that there must be other people than Robin who can read the poneglyphs. There must be some people out there, especially with the knowledge we have about Wano being the like birthplace of the stones, which I then find interesting because that's kind of where Kaido has his home base, and he has a rope poneglyph as well, so he might have someone who can read them. But yeah, that's interesting. I'm not gonna go more into that because I don't really, it's interesting. Lady Smoothie. We have our second Sweet Commander introduced. She has a bounty of 932 million, which is fucking insane if I remember correctly. Cracker had a bounty of 800 something, so she is well above him. Of course, bounties don't necessarily only reflect fighting strength, but I can assume that since that is their role as Sweet Commanders, she is stronger than him. That's just my presumption at this point, which I find really fucking interesting. And she apparently like has a power that reminds me a lot of Crocodile's, where because he can touch things with his right or left hand. The one hand he still has, and he can dry things up. And she basically twists and turns this girl, makes juice out of her and drinks it, which is really disgusting. But we have this, the girl just kind of lying dried up. So that's an interesting power that's possibly gonna be annoying to deal with because you can't really get close to her. Like I don't know if you just can't touch her like with Crocodile, but we'll see. I'm expecting her to fight someone at some point. I'm also now just wondering how that power would work on the Beansmokes, like the ones we know that have exoskeletons like Yonji, Nichi, and Ichiji. I don't know why I said it in that order. Because would she be able to do that to them? Like, how much can her power penetrate the human body, if that makes any sense? But what's that even sentence? I hope you know what I mean. I want to see that because I am of the opinion that by the end we'll see Big Mom fighting the Beansmokes and then some other players being scattered around. So I want to see how that would work out. But yeah, that's a topic for another time. Just lastly, before I get into the Brook and Pedro stuff that obviously happened here in the end, in the room of offerings, we don't just have the poneglyphs, we have treasure as well, because we see in the background that they're like rooms of treasure. And what immediately came to mind when I saw this was the tomato box, which we have all, like every single reviewer on this goddamn planet has said, oh, the tomato box is probably gonna explode at some point. And we all assumed that it was going to happen during the exchange of engagement gifts, which was like why the Beansmokes came to Big Mom's castle in the first place. And since that event has yet to take place, because I'm guessing this is like midday or something, I don't know, it would come into play there. But Oda does like to play with our expectation and burn them to the ground, so maybe the tomato box could come into play here because they are just Pedro and Brook, and they would need a lot of things to help them get the poneglyph or the poneglyphs and not die. So yeah, but I mean, it could still come into play later in the engagement gift exchange thing, and we can just see it like being brought out. But I think the tomato box has to be in this room, and whether it will come into play here or later, I don't know, but I found that interesting. Now let's get into Brook and Pedro, because they have found themselves in a bit of pickle, because they have found the poneglyphs, but they need to get to them to make the fish print copies. And Pedro is of course aware of the fact that the Sweet Commanders are really tough guys. So the fact that there's one there is just really bad, and Tamago has of course completely like strengthened the defense, hence the name Egg Defense, Tamago Defense. So they are in big trouble, but they do also bring up the fact that it's good that they were just the two of them, because if they had the whole crew with them, they wouldn't have been able to make it this far, because a bigger group is easily spotted. And they topic ban for it. I'm not gonna go into like their entire dialogue, but they end up deciding that because Pedro is the one that they are after, because they know him and they know that he's like the poneglyph thief. If they use him as bait, Brook will have a chance, I presume, to get the poneglyphs. And I just find that really interesting that Pedro is this ready to just sacrifice himself for Luffy. Because he could very easily end up dying. Not that he will, I don't think he'll die. But I find that really interesting, and there has been a lot of speculations as to whether or not Pedro is like the traitor and stuff like that, and he could still be working for Kaido, whatever the theory is. But I don't think so. I think he's just been inspired by Luffy and stuff like that. It would still be a fun twist because this arc is still about everything not being as it seems. But I have faith in Pedro, just as some of you have faith in Pudding and some of you have faith in other characters, I guess. I don't know if I've forgotten something, but I think I got through all my notes, so that should possibly do it. Like, you can always leave a comment and we can discuss some fun things if I forgot something that you found really interesting or something. So yeah, I'm gonna end this video here. Give a thumbs up on the video if you liked anything that I had to say, and leave in the comments below what you thought of this chapter and any ideas and just what you thought of all this information, because Jesus Christ, information dump. And you can subscribe if you want to see more of me. I also do reviews of Shuriken no Soma, Haikyuu, Boku no Hero Academia, and I do weekly videos on One Piece the anime and Haikyuu the anime. So if you're into those, you can subscribe, and until next time, bye!